Actually got a request from a fellow community member to do a tutorial on Germany or any country in 1939. Germany is the easiest one, so I'm going to go with Germany. And through this, I'm going to show you how the units work and what you can do to maximize the efficiency of your game. So here we are with Germany, round one, and as you can see, there's many units here. The gray tiles are the ones where you can actually click on to move your units, and the green tiles up here are the ones that you can move to. The red tiles are the ones you can attack. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I still have to say it in case you didn't know. And so, as for the units, the first units that come up are the infantry units. There's 5 types of infantry units, as you can see here. There's these 5. Rifle infantry is the bare bones of the army. It's the cheapest one. It has no advantages against anything else. So it's good as filler, or if you just want a lot of them. Assault infantry moves a lot faster and it does a little bit more damage to the rifle infantry units. So it's a better replacement that costs a little bit more material. As you can see, it moves further, and if I click on a rifle infantry unit, it doesn't move that far. And also, assault infantry has terrain bonuses in cities and in forests. So if you hit a rifle infantry here, it does a lot more damage. The motorized infantry has a high movement, but as you can see after I moved, this oil value went down, so you have to keep that in mind. If you don't have oil, don't buy this unit. The light machine gun crews are very good against other infantry units, as you can see here. And lastly, we have the commandos, which have an anti-tank rocket launcher that can deal 50% extra damage to tanks. So now we're at the armor units. The light tanks are the lightest armor vehicles. They cost a little bit of oil to operate. They can move a lot, but they're only good against the light units like light bunkers, these light artillery units, these light infantry units. If they come across these medium tanks, they do really badly. So when you have medium tanks, they're a lot better at light tanks when it comes to fighting other infantry and getting less damage, but they're still bad against the field artillery and the heavier tanks. The heavy tank is a Tiger tank, and it can be built at a level 3 factory, so here at Berlin. For the allies, it's this unit, the Pershing unit, and it has 2 tiles, meaning that if it hits a unit with only 1 tile of a range, the unit actually won't retaliate, so you get like a free hit. The last unit is the modern tank that requires level 4 factory. That's not available on this map, so we're not going to talk about it. And all these armor units actually have a value of armor to them. The light tank has about 10 armor, the medium tank has about 15, and heavy 20, and so on. And what this armor does is each unit also has an armor penetration value, so the light tank has about the same penetration as its own armor. And how it's calculated is that if you have more penetration than the defending unit's armor, then it just ignores the armor. If it has less penetration than the armor, it actually reduces your attack. So say you have 10 less penetration than the enemy's armor, you do about 30% less damage. And if you actually see that here, you can see the infantry unit has like a base damage of about 30, yet it only does about 17 damage to the medium tank because the light infantry has 0 armor penetration, but the medium tank has 20-ish armor. And so that's armor. And the third unit is the artillery. All artillery do not receive retaliation when they attack, so you can attack freely. But one thing to keep in mind is that they're very fragile, so it's not best to keep them in the front lines unless it's these kinds of infantry artillery. If it's a field artillery, keep it in the back behind these other meat shield units and use them to get rid of these bunkers and heavy tanks. They're really good against these as well, as you can see here. And in terms of air attacks, if you see this airplane logo on a city, you can use the strafing and bombing runs. If you see a level 2 airport, you can actually use the paratroopers. So how paratroopers works is that if you have an infantry unit in your city, doesn't matter what tier it is, you can paradrop it to a nearby tile like this. And so you can spam the paratroopers using this function. If you have level 1 airport instead, you can use the strafing runs, and strafing runs are good against most of these soft units, and bombing runs are good against harder units and the navy units. as you can see here. Lastly, we go to the Navy, and there's 5 units in the Navy as well. There's the submarine, the destroyer, the cruiser, the carrier, and the battleship. There's no battleships because there's no level 4 factories for the dockyards. So we have the first 4 units, and the first unit is actually the destroyer. The destroyer does not require a factory to be produced. It has a damage output bonus against submarines. So always use destroyers to hit submarines because it does a lot of damage. And submarines are actually good against, as you can see here, they're very good against cruisers, they're good against carriers and battleships. So when you use that, it deals a lot of damage, and it also doesn't face retaliation. Submarines cannot be attacked by surface units, and they can also not attack surface units, so it's like a separate unit in sea. You can also drive land units into the water, but it's not advised until you're actually very strong or you want to just move units across the water. If there's naval units, don't move your units in the water because, for example, if you do here, you attack, even though it's a tank unit, it gets wrecked by this little destroyer here because it's in the water and can't actually have any armor. The last type of units that is in the game is the field constructions. As you can see, if you click on a tile of land that you own, you can construct bunkers and turrets and also missiles if you're next to a level 4 factory. So if you construct a bunker here, it's going to appear as this construction sign for about 3 to 4 rounds, and once that finishes, it's going to turn into one of these. And they're very good against infantry units, but they're not very good if it's like if the enemy is rushing towards you, and because these units actually don't do any damage until they're fully constructed. There's one element of the game that you can see right here. It's called encirclements. If you have a unit that's surrounded by 2 enemy units, you get this yellow sign here, and this sign means that your unit's surrounded. If you're in a city and you want to heal your unit and you're encircled in the city, you actually can't heal. So it's not good to have this sign, especially if you're attacking, because that reduces your damage by about 20-ish%. If you're surrounded on all sides, then you get this red sign, and that means you get a serious penalty in your attack. So it's not recommended to get your units stuck like that. So then we get to reinforcements. So I'm going to actually just attack with a few units and skip the round. So you can see that I can actually repair the healed units. Wow. Okay, so say this tank is actually a little bit injured. We're gonna drive it back to Berlin and repair it here. So if you don't click on this repair, it actually, if it's a tank or an artillery unit, it repairs based on this factory output. So this actually repairs the tank by 15 health each round without you actually even do anything. But if you want to manually repair it instantly so you get a full tank back, you can click on this repair button. It costs a little bit of money, and once you repair it, actually loses a little bit of experience. So don't repair it if you have time and space, but you should repair it if you need your units back quickly or it's a very good unit. And the very last thing I need to talk about is this aspect called generals. So how you get your generals is from the shop here. They're pretty cheap, but I'm gonna add more generals. If you want them, please tell me. And these generals can be upgraded here as well. As you can see, these are the improvements that they make to the units they're on. And the special thing about the generals in this game is that you can actually assign and reassign them over and over again. So the generals don't actually die with your unit. You can assign a general multiple times. The number here is the number of units they can be assigned to. So say there's a tier 2 tank here, you can assign this guy here, and if you click on him again, you'll see that the 2 units are taken up. And after you assign to this guy, the next round you can actually take him off this vehicle. But if you take a general off of a vehicle before it dies, it will actually lose about half of its experience. So it's not recommended to do that. And as you can see, these generals actually do a lot better. They have about 30% increase in damage. So if you use this general to attack the enemy troops, you can do a lot of damage. That's why you should actually get the generals and watch the ads for my games. Anyways, so that's about it for what the units in general do. As you can see, I'm not actually doing very well here, but I can upload a time lapse of 1939 if you guys want it.